How's everybody doing today? What we're going to work on today is a test average calculator. It's going to take the three tests that the user enters, calculate the average. That means it's going to add up these three tests, divide by 3, and that'll give us the average. I just want to go through this form. This form is available to you in the link. You can download it. I named my first text box TXT Test 1. My next one I named TXT Test 2. My third one I named TXT Test 3. My button I named BTN Calculate. My other text box, my last one, I named TXT Test AVG. So this project is available to you in the download. You can just download it. That way, if you want, you can follow along the lecture. So, in order to get started, I need to double click on my button. That brings me to my code window. I know in my head to do this calculation I have to add up what's in the three text boxes, divide by 3, and then put that into the test average text box. Remember, in Visual Basic, it always takes the information that's on the right side of the equation and puts it into the variable or component that's on the left side of the equation. If I want my average to appear in my text box, I've got to say TXT. Notice how autocomplete works. I just click on the one I want. I hit Tab to accept it. So now I've got TXT AVG. Dot text is the property. So TXT AVG equals, well, where's test 1 score? Where's test 2 score? Where's test 3 score? They are in TXT test 1 dot text plus TXT test 2 dot text plus TXT test 3 dot text. If I add these three items up, and then I just divide by 3, I should get what I want, right? Turns out this is not going to work, and I'll explain later, but let's take a look and see what it does do. I'm going to hit Start to run my program. Here we go. I'm going to say, well, maybe I got a 90 on the first test, I got an 82 on the second test, and I got a 79 on the third test. I hit Calculate Test Average. I get 4,541,000. I get this number that seems pretty far off, right? Let me try to explain what happens in Visual Basic. The way Visual Basic looks upon any text box is anything in it, it thinks it is text. So it does not treat it like a number. Even though we put numbers in here, it's not going to treat it like a number. It's just going to treat it like text. And in Visual Basic, if we ask it to add a text box to another text box, it thinks we just want to put that number next to the other number. What it actually did is it put the 90 next to the 82, next to the 79. So it's got 908279 divided by 3. That's what it did. We don't want it to do that. This is the first project where we really need to introduce variables. We need to take the information out of the text boxes, we need to put it into variables, and then we need to work with the variables. The nice thing about a variable is it's just a place to store information in your project. It's just like your cell phones. You use variables all the time and you don't even know it. If you have a contact in your cell phone, it's basically the exact same thing as a variable, because you get to name it whatever you want, and then you get to put whatever information you want in it. And it's back there, it's in a particular memory portion of your cell phone, and you can access it when you want it. It's just like what we're going to do in Visual Basic. The nice thing about variables in Visual Basic is you get to give it a name and you get to give it a type. Initially, what we're going to be working with is numeric variables. With your numeric variables, the two easiest types to work with are integer or double. If you would like a number that's never going to have any decimals, define it as integer. If you'd like a number that may have decimals or it may not have decimals, define it as a double. For the purposes of our test average, since we very well might want numbers with decimals, we're going to define it as double. I'm going to close my run. I'm going to go up here. When you define variables, do not define them in your little subroutine. They have to be right under your public class line. You're always going to have a public class line and you're going to have an end class line. Those are very important. You need them. Don't delete them. To define a variable, you use a keyword dim. So I'm going to type dim. I need a variable for test1. It's a double. I'm going to call it dbl test1 as double. What that does, it defines a variable called dbl test1, and it defines it as double, which means it's a number that can have decimals. I can name it anything I want, but I always want to give it a name that's very reflective of what it is. All my double variables, I always start with dbl. Test1 just reminds me it is the variable which holds the information for test1. So that's a really good name for it. With your names, do not use spaces. Okay? So obviously, if I do the first one, I can just copy and paste here, and I can add a couple other variables for myself. So I've got dbl test2, dbl test3, and now I've got the variables that I need. The next thing I have to think about is I need to get the information from the text boxes into the variables so I can work with my variables. So down here in my code, what I'm going to have to do is this. Same thing as we talked about before. Whenever you want to put something somewhere else, it always takes the information on the right side, puts it into the component on the left side. I want to take the information in the text boxes and put it into the variables. So here's a line of code. dbl test1 equals txt test1 dot text. Alright, kind of an important line of code here for us. I'm saying I want to take this out of the text box, put it into the variable. Really important note here, your variables do not have a dot text property. This is a text box. When I drag it out, it has all these properties over here. My variables do not have all these properties. Remember, they're just a place for you to store information while your program is running. Same deal, I've got this. I can say, alright, I'm going to copy this and I'm going to paste it because I need two more of these, right? I have to get test2 from my other text box, and I have to get test3 from my third text box. So I've defined my variables. I've taken the information from my variables and put it into my text boxes. Now what I have to do is I have to rework this line. Now that I've got variables, I do not want to use my text boxes anymore because remember, they did not work. So I'm going to say, alright, what I'm going to do is dbl test1, that's the information from my variable, dbl test2, and dbl test3. Got to divide this by 3. I hit enter. Now I should have it. So I've got txt testaverage.text. Remember, that is where I want this to appear. Equals dbl test1 plus dbl test2 plus dbl test3 divided by 3. So I say, alright, I've defined variables. I've taken the information from my text boxes, put it into my variables. I've utilized my variables to do a computation, and I put that back into a text box. Most of the programs that we do for the next 2 or 3 weeks are going to follow this pattern. They are computational in nature, meaning you are going to have to do some mathematical computations. You're going to get the information in a text box. You're going to have to transfer that information to a variable. You're going to have to do your computations using a variable. And then lastly, you're going to have to put that result back into a text box. I want to run this thing and see if it works now. So it comes up. I'll say, all right, let's try it out. Let's say I got an 89 on my first test. I got a 76 on my second test. And I got a 92 on my third test. I hit calculate average, and it comes out here with an average. Notice it's got a lot of different decimal points there, and that's fine because I have it as a double. Your program should work with any numbers. Let's say I change this to an 88, I recalculate. Okay, my average went up. If I change this to a 96, I recalculate, my average went up. One other thing I just wanted to show you is a little bit on formatting. We get to do formatting with a toString function. If you want to use it, you want to put the entire thing into parentheses here. So I'm saying this whole calculation, I want it in parentheses, and then I'm going to do a dot toString. I'm going to do a parentheses, and I'm going to do N2. That does have to be in quotes, N2. N2 means I want it to be displayed as numeric, but I want it to always have 2 decimal places. Remember before when we ran this multiple times, sometimes we got a bunch of decimals, sometimes we got no decimals, depending whether it divided evenly or not. So I run this now, I'll say, all right, I got 96. My next test I didn't do so good, I got a 76, and then kind of evened out, I got an 82. Boom. I get my number, it's got 2 decimals. It's always going to round to 2 decimals. I can change this. Say I really got a 98. Boom. Here's my average. Should work with any numbers, and it should always now display 2 decimals. If you would like to have it display in currency, instead of using the N, you can use the letter C. That will add dollar signs here. But for us, since this does not represent dollars, I did not want to use currency. Anyhow, hopefully this was helpful to you. Hopefully you can see how the variables in this case were needed, and hopefully it will help you do these next couple homework assignments that we got. Anyhow, good luck. We'll see you next time.